Okay guys, so let's talk about last night's episode of the Vampire Diaries. First of all, when this episode opens, we realize that we're back in the 70s. We're in 1977. We see Damon in New York City, so it was kind of interesting to kind of get the flashback. The point of that is to show us that in the 70s, Damon was in New York and he had his switch flipped, basically. So where Elena is at, Damon has obviously been there before, and in the 70s he was doing that in New York. Now I must say I was a tad disappointed that we went back to the 70s and there was no afros or bell bottoms. Damon in an afro in the 70s would have been kind of awesome, but alas, we got none of that. So I think the whole point of this trip to New York with Elena is kind of twofold for Damon. You know, he's trying to follow up this clue that he thinks is going to lead him to the cure, but at the same time, I still think he's as well trying to like teach her about being a vampire. You know, as he kind of tells her this story of what it was like for him when he was in New York and he had his switch flipped. Now, meanwhile, Stefan's back at home in Mystic Falls, being worried. They gotta do something with Stefan, you guys, because lately it's just like he's on the phone a lot and he's just worried a lot, and I don't like that Stefan all that much. I mean, it's either like normal Stefan, domesticated Stefan, or the Ripper. I mean, there's gotta be some like happy medium for him. And I guess maybe that's the point, is he's trying to find that, and he's worried about Elena for sure. Now at home we get that obviously Silas is there in Mystic Falls with Bonnie. How is it that I didn't put two and two together to get that Shane is Silas? You know, that he's using Shane's body or his kind of form to show himself to Bonnie. For some reason I didn't make that connection. I just thought she was like seeing ghosts or something. But no, it's actually Silas that she's seeing. He's continuing to manipulate her, trying to get her to kind of complete the expression triangle, which means doing another massacre. Eventually, you know, Stefan kind of gets Klaus and Caroline together to try to stop her, and they realize that the third massacre has to be a massacre of witches, which is just kind of crazy. We do get lots of Klaus and Caroline time, and a lot of like insinuations about darkness and the allure of darkness, you know, like Klaus makes this comment at one point. He says something like, "Don't underestimate the allure of darkness, like the purest hearts have been attracted to it," and he, you know, gives Caroline this look when he says it. And he's talking about Damon and Elena, but of course he's also talking about Caroline as well. And, you know, he's doing his little kind of like seduction dance with her and trying to lure her in. It doesn't really go all that well for them in this episode, because at one point, you know, the two of them are fighting. It was actually really kind of cute. They're out in the woods together and they're like bickering like an old married couple, until finally she just kind of says something to hurt him, and just basically like, if you do evil things then you're just evil and there's no help for you, which of course is the opposite of what she'd said to him in that kind of pivotal scene when, you know, he was gonna let her die, when he bit her. And like, I don't really think she meant it, in all honesty. I think she said it in the moment because they were arguing and she wanted to hurt him, and she does. So Silas has basically convinced Bonnie, gotten her to call her mother, under the ruse of kind of like, send witches to help me kind of get rid of the expression thing. I'm too powerful, I can't do it on my own. And so it just so happens that she sends a coven of witches, which just happens to be 12, which of course is the magic number. So these 12 witches out in the woods with Bonnie, they think they're there to help her. They think they're there to kind of draw out this kind of expression magic from her, but really she's going to kill them all. So by this time, you know, Stefan and Klaus and Caroline are out in the woods and they're trying to find them. They do find them. Stefan tries to stop the witches and be like, look, this is what she's trying to do, and that's when the witch, the girl who's in charge of the witches, she's just pretty much like, well, we're gonna kill her then, because if Silas has her, then there's no turning back for her. So she gets a knife out and she's gonna kill her, right? So Caroline's not having any of this, but she's not listening, right? Because all of the witches, like in this coven, like they're helping each other with their power, so they're all technically linked, right? So this witch girl goes to like stab Bonnie, and Caroline runs in at the last second, grabs the knife, and stabs the witch, you know, uses it to stab the witch with. So Klaus yells like, no, at her, and it's not until, you know, right after it's done that Caroline realizes what she's done, you know, because she kills this witch, the main witch that was kind of in the circle with Bonnie. You see this body like keel over, and then you look around the circle, and one by one you see each of these witches fall, because they were all linked. So basically she killed one, she killed them all. So Caroline is the one who completes the triangle. Now, poor Bonnie. And don't get me started on how Bonnie gets used in the Vampire Diaries. I mean, like, could this woman have a storyline that's ever just about herself? please. But she like wakes up, like when she wakes up after everything, you know, like Stefan's taking her back home, she wakes up, she doesn't remember anything. The last thing she remembers is being in the cave. And so Stefan has to again tell her that Jeremy is dead, and it was awful. So now, you know, Silas has gotten what he wanted. He wanted that last sacrifice. Now all he needs is the cure. And so he goes to Klaus and pretty much is like, shows him who's boss, basically, you know, because who is Klaus scared of? No one, basically. But Silas, you know, he's got the white oak steak. So he tells Klaus, I will trade you the cure for the steak. And he actually uses it on him, like stabs him in the back, like an inch away from his heart to basically show him like, you're my bitch now, so go get me the cure or you're gonna die. And it was just weird to kind of see Klaus like in that position. Also too, you know, there was this kind of really awful Klaus and Caroline moment towards the end when she realizes what she's done, that she's killed 12 people, and she really just starts to almost freak a little. And you think he's gonna comfort her, you know, you think this is the moment when Klaus is gonna, you know, kind of show some humanity. But instead, he remembers what she said to him, like when they were in the woods and they were fighting. And so he's just like, oh, it seems like you need comfort. Maybe we should go find someone who could do that. I mean, it was just kind of like dastardly. And so she walks away angry. So Klaus and Caroline are not really in a great place, so I'm hoping that's gonna change soon, before he leaves. Now, back in New York, you know, Damon thinks he's kind of got a control on Elena. You know, he's taken her to some of his old clubs he used to go to and stuff like that, and trying to like show her what it is to be free, blah, blah, blah. But Elena is not really buying any of it. At least emotionless Elena's not. And she knows that he's there for another reason, and so she basically is gonna play him. Rebecca shows up and gets a taste of the new Elena, and it was kind of entertaining, because Elena tells Rebecca, like, look, I know what Damon's doing. I know he's trying to find the cure. I know he and Stefan are going to try to make me take it. So that basically means I need to find it before they do. And so Rebecca's like, well, let's do that together. And then Elena's kind of a biatch to her, because that's what Elena does these days. So much so. I mean, like, you would think that Rebecca would be in love with the new Elena, but Elena is just so awful that Rebecca at one point even says to her, like, you just made me miss the old Elena, which for Rebecca would mean a lot, you know, because how much did Rebecca hate Elena? I thought that was highly entertaining. In the end, the two of them double team it. You know, Elena tries to do the whole seductress thing with Damon, but they end up double teaming him and snapping his neck and leaving him on the roof of some building. Let's talk about the flashbacks for a second. You know, like as Damon's kind of telling Elena this story of being in New York in the 70s and Lexi showing up in the 70s to really kind of help him. Like, you get that Stefan probably sent her there to try to help Damon kind of turn his emotions back on. And she was there for a while and just really trying to work with him. And I was annoyed by one part, let me just mention this, because what happens is that in the end, Damon convinces her that he's in love with her. The two of them spend this romantic evening like on the rooftop, and really, he's not. Really, he's just gotten her in a place where she's vulnerable, because when the sun comes up, you know, he's got a ring and she doesn't, and so she's trapped. And he just kind of leaves her there. And I hated the fact that Lexi kind of gave into that, because I don't know, it just didn't seem like a Lexi move to me. Like Lexi was like seemed way too smart for that. And I love Lexi so much. She is probably the character on the Vampire Diaries that I am most upset got killed. You know, like every time they do a flashback with her in it, I'm just like, why did you guys do that to Lexi? Y'all gotta figure out some way to bring her back, because I really, really like her a lot. But I hated that. I hated that they made her seem like foolish, and I didn't like that. But fast forward to the present, basically, yeah, Elena and Rebecca are on the like evil Thelma and Louise tour where who knows the damage the two of them are gonna just wreck as they go on to find Catherine. So Damon actually had found a clue as to where Catherine was, because that was the whole point of New York. They steal it from him when they break his neck, they steal his car, and they go off to find her. I just can't wait, you guys, for next week, because we're gonna see it. We're gonna get the Elena and Catherine showdown, and I think evil Elena, emotionless Elena, who I can't stand, is getting ready to meet her match, is getting ready to like get shown this and that by Miss Catherine, because Catherine is way older than her. So I have a feeling Elena's gonna try to be like, give me the cure, and Catherine's gonna put the smack down on her, and I just Can't wait for that. For one time, I think I'm probably going to be cheering Team Catherine, and that'll probably be the only time that'll ever happen, but I will be doing it. So yeah, guys, I thought it was a really good episode. Can't wait for next week. I will see you guys again soon. Bye.